Welcome to another weekend here on the platform. My name is Sam Omashaye. Today on this program, I'll be speaking with a professor of law, senior advocate of Nigeria, now controversial, now illuminating, but today, Professor Itse Sagay is 80 years old. And this is not just a special edition, it is also a birthday edition. Welcome to Big Talk. My guest is Professor Itse Sagay, Chairman, Presidential Advisory Committee Against Corruption, Senior Advocate of Nigeria, Professor of Law, writer, pundit, public commentator, etc., etc. You're welcome to my show, sir. And I say happy birthday.
Thank you very much.
How does it feel to be 80?
No difference at all.
No difference from when? From when you were 70 or when you were 60?
Definitely no difference from when I was 70.
Really?
One doesn't really feel the age mentally, but you feel it physically.
Yes.
Mentally and in my mind, I still feel as if I'm a 10-year-old boy. But being slowed down by the physical aspect of it. And that's what reminds me that I'm much older than that.
Yes. What do you think is responsible for that mental alertness at this time?
I suppose because you know time is passing, but you don't actually see the time passing. You know, it's still you inside you, and you just accept things as they are and carry on. But now and then, the physical aspect reminds you that things have changed.
Things have changed.
Yes.
All right, we will come back to that. I just want us to probably start from the beginning. Your childhood. What do you recall of your childhood? Significant aspect of your childhood?
Probably the most interesting part was that my father was a master at Government College, really, when it was still in Warri.
Yes.
And so I
It
was
called Warri College.
Warri College, Warri, at that time. And we lived in the campus, and I interacted with the boys then. Yes. I was a much smaller person. Yeah. And for a long time, I knew virtually everybody who had passed through the school, you know, until I myself finished. I knew virtually everybody because I saw all of them, all the originals, Mo, Agodo, all of them.
Really?
It was, yes.
Onosode,
all of them. It was quite an exciting time.
Yeah. And
of course,
what year did you get to Government College, really?
1954.
1954.
Yes.
So you were there later. That means you saw people like J.P. Clark, Akporo de Clark.
No, I didn't meet.
You didn't meet them?
No, I didn't meet the Clarks.
But they were there when you were still...
They were there when I was still in my father's house.
Oh, you didn't know them?
Oh, I knew them.
Okay, that's what I
knew. Oh, I knew them.
Yes.
I knew them. I knew virtually everybody.
Okay.
Yes.
So what would you say? What did you learn from that atmosphere? It means that you were in the atmosphere of Government College, yes, really, and it had such a... must have had such an enduring influence on your life.
It definitely had an impact in me. And that informed me immediately that was the next stage of my life. You know, from the primary school that I was in at that time. I knew that from there, I would go to an institution like Government College, although I wasn't sure it was going to be Government College.
Why were you too sure?
My father was a student of Government College in Ibadan.
Okay.
And he wanted me to go there. So I wasn't sure. I took the entrance to Government College in Ibadan when I was in Standard 5. I wasn't picked. Then in Standard 6, we decided, let me try Government College, really, which is the familiar tough, yes, and then I got through on that second occasion.
Okay. Yes. So why did your father prefer Ibadan? He wanted you to follow his footsteps. Yes. He didn't believe in the quality of a better school?
I don't think the issue of quality was considered. No. We really had, in fact, I would say, slightly higher quality than Ibadan. Yeah, because we had so many things, yeah, that others did not have. We had a steam cooker, for example. Yeah. which I'm certain you people did not see when you came. We had steam cookers. We had, of course, flush toilets. We had our own generator when there was no power in the town.
We had that big one. I mean, when we were in school, anytime NEPA took the light at that time, it was ECN at that time, then NEPA later. When it took the light, we heard the noise from over. The school was about 1 mile square.
1 mile square.
Yes, we heard the noise from far away.
Exactly.
There was light.
We had
it
that.
was a big fixture of the school at the time. Yeah.
We had automatic mowing machine.
Yes.
We
had tractors.
Which was rare. Cutting the grass.
Yes, cutting the grass.
Then we had a pavilion for sports. Yeah, These are very rare things.
And 4 football fields.
4 football fields. And so, the
different
school,
from the athletic field.
Yeah.
And then we had the swimming pool.
Yes.
To learn. It was a big and massive environment.
The swimming pool wasn't there when I was there.
Okay,
it came later.
Yes.
But, the school had so many things, so many, what would I say? Not just positive, but things that are not normally available.
Yes.
To the ordinary school.
Yes. Like the cadets.
Yes.
Did you have cadets at that time?
No, I left before they had that. So no, it wasn't because Ibadan was superior. I think it's just the sentiment.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay. Now, when you left Ughelli,
yes,
you went to study law.
Yes, it wasn't as straightforward as that.
Okay.
I had wanted to study medicine when I was in Ughelli. I was interested in the sciences.
Okay.
And in class 5, you have to take the entrance into the HSC.
Yes.
I took part in that entrance. I was not selected.
To do HSC?
To do HSC. Okay. So I left at class 5 and then came to Lagos to stay. My mom was in Lagos. I stayed with her. And we were living at Military Street, directly behind the National Assembly then. Okay. Directly behind. So I was working. We were closing at 2. Customs. I was working as a customs clerk.
That was around
1960. Yes. 1960. I will come back home by 3, have a quick lunch, and then dash off to Parliament to watch the proceedings.
Really?
So I was seeing all of them. Awolowo watched, Tafawa Balewa, Okotie. I heard all the debates.
What struck you about that?
I was very impressed.
Who impressed you and what?
Awolowo by far. The man had everything at his fingertip. I don't think he's a man who would speak without having prepared seriously. So when he was speaking and reeling out figures, it was just incredible. It was as if it was like the British Prime Minister was speaking to the British Parliament. So that impressed me so much. So I said, I think I would rather read law. Because that's closer to being a politician, taking part in politics. So I switched. And then did this external course where they send you courses to read. Yes, I did that. And within a year, I took the exam. I got my 3 A-level papers. Okay. And the interesting thing is that when my colleagues were leaving GCU, I too had just got my, and we all went to university same year.
Wow.
1962.
But if you studied, if you were planning to study medicine and then ended up studying law, it meant that when you were in Ughelli, you also had strong, probably literary and arts inclination. You did well in those subjects.
Yeah, without boasting, I was the best in English language and literature in my class.
In your class,
yes.
Okay. Good. And then you also, what did you do in A-levels? You did?
Oh, I did totally different things. I did economics, political science, and history.
And history.
Modern European history.
Modern European history. Okay.
Including the French Revolution.
Yeah, okay.
So I specialized at that time, yes.
You studied people like Danton and Robespierre.
Yeah, exactly.
And Louis XV and ABCA, those names.
Yes. That's quite interesting.
So those were formative years. So would you say at that time that you were getting ideologically oriented, or you were just having fanciful ideas about how the world was going to work?
My ideology was established when I was watching the National Assembly, the House of Representatives, when I was listening to the debates, what everybody was saying, what Awo was saying, what all of them, and now all of them. And very gradual, because I left school, everybody was in school, left school as a great admirer of Azikwe. He had the flamboyance and everything, but progressively, as I listened to those debates, my preference just went gradually towards the action group, because they were more organized, their positions were well prepared. It's as if they were the ones in government. In fact, at times, their presentations were more detailed than the minister that they were shadowing. So I just...
So what you saw at that time was a country that was trying to give birth to itself.
Yes.
And you saw the countervailing forces in Nigeria very early. What were those forces?
Those forces, as it became clear to me, were that whilst that first set of politicians were truly honest and dedicated to the service of the country, they did not tolerate democracy. The ruling group, the NPC, NCNC, felt threatened by Awolowo. They felt threatened, but it was just too organized. He knew how to do everything a bit better than them.
Yes.
And then when he appeared determined to become prime minister, they felt threatened. And that was the first dark cloud that descended on the First Republic. And gradually, the hostility became so much that, in fact, one of the ministers, the father of the first EFCC, Ribadu,
yes,
said, this man, Awolowo, should be in prison. That was part of the debate, yes. This man, right to his face, should be in prison. Because he was expressing himself freely in a democratic...
And combatively.
Yes, combatively. And surely within 2 years he was in prison. So after that, me as a person, my mind went clearly and completely to the action group.
So how was it now in your university days?
I got to the university to read law, University of Ife, then, based in Ibadan.
Ibadan, yes.
I did my best, quite okay, but I found that reading law was not sufficient for me. I was very active. When I saw the way politics was going, how everybody was jumping ship from the action group because of the pressure and the convenience, I decided the action group needed support of young people. So I decided to form the University of Ife branch of action group. And at first I was a secretary. Later I became the president. And we became very active. The national executive, led by Alhaji Adegbenro, invited us, two of us, to join the executive. The various university branch presidents were invited to the executive meetings. And then during the federal election in December 1964, we were given vehicles, money, police to go and campaign. And I campaigned. As a student? That's why I learned the little Yoruba I knew, because I didn't know any Yoruba then. In the present Osun State, that's where that area was.
People are sometimes amazed that as close as the Shekiri language is to Yoruba, that sometimes you can speak Shekiri.
Yes, you think you are speaking Yoruba.
You think you are speaking Yoruba, and both languages may not even understand
exactly.
each other.
So that's where we campaigned. It was quite an interesting experience. I learned to speak basic Yoruba then, things like Edibo Fokpe, or things like that. That is, vote for the palm tree. That was the symbol.
Symbol of
yes, it was quite a hectic time because it was dangerous too. But we were young and we just didn't care.
It was the age of wet year.
It was the age of wet year came later.
Yes.
The federal election was messed up.
Yes.
When Zik now called Balewa to form a government where there was a stalemate.
Yes.
And then all hopes now descended on Western region election. That one, we were determined at least to get the West from Akintola. That was an absolute minimum. So that's why there was so much tension. That's where the problem started from. The tension was so much. The election was held. In fact, the election was held when I was leaving the university to go to the law school.
Law school.
And the action group won. But from the radio station, they were announcing NNDP victories all over the place. And the people of the West just exploded.
Did you have first-hand experience with Akintola?
No, I never met him.
You never met him?
No, the only experience I had was when we went to Ife to campaign. And those NNDP thugs belonging to Fanika, they were deployed against us and were nearly killed.
It's important to let the viewers know that NMDP was
Nigerian National Democratic Party,
which itself was itself cut out of the tendencies of AG
and NCNC.
Yes. Yes. So they became, it was a kind of a compromise, a treachery, as it were.
Yes,
from,
and then they had a link with the MPC.
With the MPC of the North. So they became a planting
in the West.
A planting in the West.
Exactly.
And it was a tension between Awo. There was also an allegation against Awo, as a Democrat as Awo tended to be against the feudal tendencies of the NPC and so on. There was a sense too that Awolowo also ran a party of autocracy within democracy, or what Tocqueville called democratic despotism within the AG, and that led to the uproar of dissent.
That's possible, but my little observation then, because I was really not in the integral part of it, was that it was his discipline that was a bit too much for some people. He was disciplined, there were rules, they had to be kept, and some standards had to be met. And there were some who were just not comfortable with that. They wanted an easier, particularly relationships, for example, with the MPC, which was the main enemy, so-called of the party. Some wanted a link, some relationship. And he didn't tolerate that, because that would mean sinking the ambition of the party to rule at the federal level. So there were those things. Well, you know, a man who is so disciplined and who virtually had no fear of any type, that he became more a spiritual person than a flesh person.
Yes.
That sort of person would tend to offend people who take their pleasures and easygoing life more seriously.
He said while he was reading, some people were carousing with his women of his virtues and drinking while he was spending his midnight oil reading and contemplating.
That's the sort of man he was.
What is it about Awolowo that you as an insider knew that you think the world should know, other than the fact that he had this Spartan discipline, he had this predilection to spiritual solitude and so on? What do you think people should know that many don't know about Awolowo?
Well, I think many know what I'm about to say. Mainly, he read widely. He did research prodigiously, and he wrote profusely on various principles and policies, which the others just didn't have the capacity to do. And so I found that very admirable, because you can know what his policy is by picking up his book. You don't even have to wait for him to speak. And he was absolutely fearless. A man who had no fear of death or danger or discomfort or hardship is a terrifying man, because there's not much you can do to him.
To him?
Yes.
Because he's not even afraid.
No, he's not afraid.
No,
he's not afraid.
Yes. And then we had the Nigerian Civil War and the collapse of democracy at that time. What was your sense of what happened to Nigeria at that time? What stage of your life were you at that time?
Okay, first the problem started whilst I was still in this country. I just finished at the law school. Ironsi took over in January.
Yes.
Then it was violently overthrown in July.
Yes.
There was this Saraba and all these massacres in North. And then I went off to do my postgraduate course in Cambridge, in England.
Yes.
And then, but I followed what was going on.
Yeah.
country was in a state of confusion because I was reading the papers every day. It was in a state of confusion. Because of the death of Ironsi, at the time he was killed, the North had made up its mind to leave.
Yes.
And so they were ready either to have two countries or have a federation, a confederation.
A confederation, yes.
But I think they were persuaded against that.
Yes. And Gowon had to adjust his speech.
He had to adjust his speech.
On the influence of the British.
Yes, yes. It was, so that change did not go down well with the East led by Ojukwu because they now really wanted space to rule themselves and have some connection with the center which were not too
close.
Which would be tenuous. Yeah, which would be tenuous.
Yes.
So I think that's really what led to the conflict. The determination of the East to regain relative independence with some tenuous links, and the advice given to the federal government that if you allow that, they have all the oil, and therefore they have all the resources.
They have all the human resources.
That's
too.
right. And if that happened, Nigeria would be impoverished.
Yes.
So I think that was the tension that led to the war.
And then that aspect of it tends to be played down by historians and so on. The material aspect of the tension in the country.
It was critical.
It's very critical,
Yes.
but people tended to pay more attention to ethnic hatred and all of that. But the material aspect, the oil, plays an important part. So how was it when you got to Cambridge? What did you learn about the educational system there that was different?
Okay, the first thing that struck me was the amount of care and devotion directed at students. You know, when I was in Ife, well, I was given a room, and that was it. But in Cambridge, you have a tutor
Directly.
for your general welfare, then another tutor for your academic work. So every week or so you were invited, what are your problems and so on. They really made sure that you were made comfortable and confident. Let's take my case. In my college, that was King's College, law was not a strong discipline. Economics was their main discipline.
Cambridge,
Yes, so I was a bit out of place at King's College. And when it came to my supervision, because they had to provide supervision for everybody, they didn't have a don who was sufficiently strong in law to supervise me, because this was at the postgraduate level. Now. They now had to go to Trinity College.
Really?
To engage a professor. No, Trinity College, Cambridge.
Okay.
To engage a lecturer there, whom they were paying to supervise me weekly.
Can you imagine?
My college was paying him. That's the level of care they really took. And
some people may not understand this. I didn't understand this until I went to Toronto itself. When you use the word college within the university, it is a set of a class of students selected from other classes within the university. Yes.
No, the college system operated like a federation.
A federation, yes.
The college controlled everything in your life except one thing: lectures and examinations.
Yes.
The university just did the lectures and they did your examinations. They marked your papers and awarded the degree. The college took care of every other thing: accommodation, food, social engagement. Were invited, wine tasting, all sorts of things.
When I was
That's
in
the
Toronto,
college.
I had like 4 people that were taking care of me. Yeah. If I wanted money,
that's
somebody to go to
yes.
another level of welfare.
Yes.
If I traveled, another person in academics, another person. It's amazing how it worked.
In fact, we were plunging into civil war at that time.
Yes.
So they invited all the Nigerians, the provost invited all the Nigerians to his lodge and said, I want to know which one of you cannot pay your fees because of the war.
Wow.
The college will take it up.
Wow.
And that's what happened. But I had no problem. My fees were coming through.
Okay.
But those who couldn't pay their fees, were held by the college, and the college paid their fees throughout the war.
So you completed your time there in
1970.
in 1970.
Yes.
You didn't meet Harriman there, Hope.
No, I didn't meet him.
Hope had come and
Yes.
had gone. Yeah, and then you went into academics.
Yes. In fact, I was sponsored by the University of Ife.
Okay.
Because I did fairly well at the exams, the degree exams.
Yes.
So they invited me back after law school, engaged me as an assistant lecturer, and then sent me abroad
To Cambridge.
to do my postgraduate work.
In Cambridge. Well, the second half of the interview will be continued next week. So stay tuned. Just before the program ends, this is my poem in honor of Leah Sharibu. Shall I call you lucky, Leah? Girls your age beat gun into the bush. They joyed for escaping your kindred bullies who made you campmaid and slave. They end up in army's damp den of feces and fear, a farce of freedom. They feel like the Israelites who envy their former captivity. Thank you for watching today's program. You can catch up with my published column on www.samomashaye.com. And until next time, be good.